Welcome to Patriots Today by Chat Sports. I am Nick Roloff. And on today's show, which quarterback should New England prefer in the 2024 NFL Draft? Caleb Williams? Well, that's likely not going to happen. And if we're going to be honest, they don't really get to choose who their quarterback is going to be at number 3. But which one should Patriots fans hope falls to that third overall pick between these two guys, Drake Maye and Jayden Daniels? We'll discuss both prospects in depth, including a little clip from NFL analyst Nate Tice as well. So stay tuned for that. First, I want to make sure this becomes the largest Patriots YouTube channel there is. The best way to do that is to share it to your friends, share it to the internet to make sure more people can subscribe. And I'll even offer up a deal, to little incentive, if you will. Every share on today's video will equal 1 minute of a workout I will do tomorrow, which means if we get 30 shares, I have to do a 30-minute workout. Don't worry, I won't lie to you. I'll take a picture. I'll have proof. I'll put it on the community tab as well. Every share we get on this video, I'm doing a minute of a workout. All right, before we get into the prospects, I do think it's important to know, important to lay out for everybody, especially Patriots fans, that, well, New England really does not get a choice of which quarterback is going to be available at pick number 3. Obviously, if they truly did fall in love with one of these prospects so much, they could trade up to number 2 with Washington if the Commanders are lukewarm on one of the people, or they don't really care which one they draft. So if New England really likes one or the other, well, they can trade up to number 2. It won't be number 1, as New England probably does not want Caleb Williams, and the Bears want a lot. So I don't think New England should do that. But if you're asking me, here are my quarterback prospect rankings, at least during the 2024 NFL Scouting Combine. Obviously, things can change with pro days and throughout the week with interviews. Maye, Daniels, and Caleb aren't throwing at the Combine. J.J. McCarthy and Michael Penix Jr. are. But if I had to rank it as we currently sit, I'd have Caleb Williams as QB1, which, by the way, I did not always have that. Personally, I had Drake Maye as QB1 for a while there. But I slotted him back at 2. Jayden Daniels at 3. I moved JJ up from 5 to 4 and Penix from 4 to 5 since my last quarterback prospect rankings. But I'll say this. This certainly is not the consensus when it comes to draft circles on who quarterback 1 is. What do I mean by that? Well, our own Harrison Graham is at the NFL Combine. Nate Tice, who covers the NFL, make sure you go give him a follow on Twitter. Well, he actually has Drake Maye as quarterback 1, and here is a little clip from Harrison talking with Tice at the NFL Combine.
Yeah, and again, I love Caleb too, so I do want to always get that out front. It's a 1A, 1B situation for me, but with Maye, he has a lot of the stuff that I look to a modern quarterback play. As far as size, speed, I think obviously he's actually gotten underrated as an athlete so far. Yeah. I think he's one of the best scramblers in college football statistically, and just watching him on film, what he decides to do on third down. Again, like I mentioned, the size. He does certain things that I see the best guys, the best quarterbacks, the elite guys do right now in modern football, attacking over the middle of the field, launching stuff down the field. When other teams try to heat him up, defenses try to blitz him, he gashes them. He pushes the ball constantly, and then sometimes when stuff breaks down, he can create a little bit. And so that size, speed, creativity, also just that brutal aggressiveness, that ruthless aggression, I believe John Cena said back in the day on SmackDown. But I think that is exactly what I like about him. He has that kind of total package that I really look at in the quarterback position.
Do you like the Justin Herbert comps?
I have been struggling to find a comparison for him because yes, I understand the number 10, the size, some of the speed stuff and pushing the ball, but it's not 1-to-1 to me. I've seen it was like Justin Herbert with a lobotomy, and I've seen the Justin Herbert with a little bit of Josh Allen.
He seems a little more athletic than Herbert.
He is. He's going to test better.
Yeah.
Yes, and Herbert's a little bigger, maybe like 5-10 pounds bigger, but not crazy much, and a little taller. But there is some comparisons as far as just the arm talent. I think Herbert has maybe a little stronger arm, but that ability to push the ball. But yeah, if I had to compare one, that would be one. But it's not a perfect 1-to-1 to me.
Shout out to Harrison and shout out to Nate for giving us some insight on Drake Maye. He has Maye as the number 1 quarterback in his draft rankings. There's pros and cons to each. I want to know your quarterback 1 in the 2024 NFL draft class. Let me know who should be the number 1 overall pick, as all quarterbacks usually go number 1. Get those votes down below. When you look at the 2 quarterbacks that we're mainly focusing on today, though, and this is going to be between Drake Maye and Jayden Daniels, these are the productivity these two have done over the past 2 seasons. Each have played 26 games. Jayden Daniels simply does not turn the ball over. 57 throwing touchdowns compared to 7 interceptions while completing 70% of his passes. On the flip side, though, Drake Maye, 65% completion percentage, 62 touchdowns, 16 INTs. Maye also threw for 1,200 more yards, but Jayden Daniels made up for it with 900 more rushing yards than Drake Maye and 5 more rushing touchdowns. Listen, there's things that each of these prospects do better than the other. That is just an absolute fact. There's no debating that, right? That is going to be the same thing that can be said for everything. Like, Drake Maye is the best quarterback when it comes to throwing over the middle of the field. Jayden Daniels is the most athletic and most elusive quarterback. Caleb Williams does the most wow plays, and you could say he has the strongest arm in the draft class, even though I think it's very close between Caleb and Drake for that award and superlative. But either way, there's pros and cons to each. And coming up in just a second, I'm going to talk about the pros and cons to both Jayden Daniels and Drake Maye. And then at the end of the video, give my final thoughts on who the best quarterback for New England should be and who y'all should want to fall to number 3. But first, got to show some love to Prize Picks, the number 1 daily fantasy sports app in North America. They're offering a first deposit match up to $100 when you use code CLNS. They offer a variety of daily fantasy sports to choose from, whether it be NHL, college basketball, conference tournament week is just around the corner. Get loaded up today, as well as NBA. And you could actually bet, but make selections with Prize Picks on some NFL Combine stuff as well. I went to the Combine this week and did some 40-yard dash picks. Yes, you heard that correctly. I took the less than on Michael Penix's 4.64 40-yard dash, the more than on Bo Nix 4.74, and then the less than on J.J. McCarthy 4.61. I like those numbers. You could take these picks. You could go in a different direction if you like, but make sure you download Prize Picks today, the number 1 daily fantasy sports app and platform in North America. So download the app today. Use code CLNS to get a first deposit match up to $100. That link will be in the description and comments of today's video. Get started with Prize Picks today. All right, let's start with Drake Maye and his pros. And to me, the 4 things that stand out to me when evaluating and scouting Drake Maye. 1, he can make every single throw from the pocket, whether it be deep down the left sideline, intermediate left, over the middle. I think he is phenomenal, and the way that his stature helps him is really the difference maker from here. Like, Caleb is a 6'1" guy. We'll see what he comes in at the Combine, but he's not the lengthiest guy. Jayden Daniels is 6'4", but Drake Maye is 6'4", 6'5", 230. He's a big guy in comparison to the other prospects, so he can stand in the pocket and make every throw. You saw the statistics on screen just a minute ago. He was very productive as the starter in Chapel Hill over the past 2 years in his 26 games played. He can do it all. He's got very underrated mobility. I'm not sure if he's running at the Combine. I know he's not throwing. We'll see if he runs. If he runs the 40, I'll be intrigued. I think he'll be in the 4.5s. He's very quick. Don't get it twisted. He's as quick, not maybe as quick, but he will be in the upper echelon of mobility in terms of the quarterback. And I mentioned a little bit earlier as well, he is an elite thrower of the football over the middle of the field. He can absolutely dial it up between the hashes, and he uses his arm talent, and he could also layer the football as well. It's not like he could only do one or the other, like a J.J. McCarthy, who I think has one speed. It's a good fastball, but if you can't throw that little curve or the changeup to layer it over the linebackers, that's going to hinder your ability to succeed in the biggest moments. Drake Maye can absolutely do both of those things. But he's not a perfect prospect either. He's got some cons. I think one of his biggest cons is that he's careless at times. When I mean by that, he trusts his arm too much. I'll say this. I'd rather have a quarterback that trusts their abilities rather than doubts themselves, because we've seen other QBs like Justin Fields and Mac Jones not trust themselves and try to fit it in tight windows. Drake Maye believes he can make every single throw on the football field, well, mostly because he can, but he also puts the ball in a little harm's way too much, if you ask me. Only a 2-year starter, but I don't really have that many complaints about it. If you're a 1-year starter, that could be an issue, but 2 years is fine with me. And then he hardly ever slides. He puts his body in harm's way quite a bit when he is scrambling and running around and picking up first downs. Same could be said for Jayden Daniels, but it's just a concern that I think we have to acknowledge for Drake Maye, because if he gets hurt scrambling because he doesn't slide down, well, that's going to not help New England if he's on the Patriots, and the best ability is availability. So if he's constantly getting hurt because he doesn't slide, well, that is certainly a con. Jayden Daniels' pros and cons coming up here in just a second, but we got Patriots rumors surrounding the NFL draft every single day on the channel. So if you want to stay up to date on what's happening surrounding the New England Patriots during the NFL draft process and before the NFL draft process, make sure you hit that sub button and join the channel. All right, let's over to Jayden Daniels, the Heisman Trophy winner from 2023. His pros, I think, are very obvious. He has elite mobility. He is the quickest and I would say the most agile quarterback in this class. You saw it. He ran for over 2,000 yards over the past 2 seasons, including 1,000 yards in each season in the Bayou. He is just absolutely fantastic. He's got a very accurate deep ball, which is probably the favorite part of mine when scouting Jayden Daniels. He can really throw the ball deep down the field. And there's a part to his game, too, which doesn't get talked about enough. Obviously, the deep ball, 40-yard, 50 yards downfield. The one that stands out to me the most, though, is his 20 to 25-yard throws, because he, Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas Jr., connected on so many 20, 25-yard fade routes in the red zone. Like, they're just at the red zone, a little bit outside. He'd throw that slot fade that Jayden Daniels and he'd throw to Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr. right at the pylon. He'd deliver it back pylon, front pylon, perfect accuracy from 20 to 25 yards out. He is great anticipatory thrower in that range. Another pro of Jayden Daniels, well, he's a 5-year college player, unlike Caleb Williams and Drake Maye, who have each started fully for 2 seasons. Caleb Williams had a half a season in there. He played 5 years of college ball. 2 in LSU, couple in Arizona State. He was always getting reps. He's very experienced. He's been through a lot of hostile environments. He's been through a lot of ups and downs in his collegiate career, which I think could only help his mental toughness when he translates to the NFL. Same thing with Drake, though. There is some cons to Jayden Daniels' game. Question of his frame is very concerning, in my opinion. I'll be intrigued to see what he weighs in at the NFL Combine or Pro Day or whenever he does that. He's 6'4", but he's like closer to 205, 210. As I mentioned earlier, Drake Maye's 230. Can he survive these monster hits in the NFL? Another concern I have, he had 2 elite wide receivers at LSU. Neighbors is going to be a top 10 pick. He can arguably be the second wide receiver picked in this draft, and he might go 5th overall. Also had Brian Thomas Jr., who's going to be a first-round pick in the NFL draft as well. So I always have concerns with college quarterbacks that are throwing to elite players consistently, because it's like, can you elevate talent? Can you survive at that next level if you don't have elite talent? Because at least as current roster constructed goes, the Patriots don't have the most elite wide receivers. The last con I have with him, and it's not really much of a con as it is a question and a concern, is can he work in a pocket? Should he be compared to Lamar Jackson? Probably not. It's probably a little bit unfair. But we've seen Lamar Jackson struggle when teams put him in a contain, don't let him get outside the pocket, use his legs, and force him to be a thrower of the football more than an athlete, more than a scrambler, which makes him so dynamic and made him a 2-time MVP. Jayden Daniels, I think, is able to work in a pocket, but can he do it consistently enough to where he doesn't have to rely on his legs to pick up as many first downs, and he could just sit back in the pocket and deliver a strike on 3rd and 12, 3rd and 15, rather than always having to look to use your legs? I think that is a serious concern. I just went through the pros and cons of both Jayden Daniels and Drake Maye. So pick a quarterback for me, at least as you currently see things. Type DM for Drake Maye. Type JD for Jayden Daniels. I do want to flash through this before I give my final answer. Jeff Howe, Patriots beat reporter, did tweet out this yesterday. Jayden Daniels has been impressive in meetings with teams this week, sources said. That was expectation, but he has continued to solidify himself as a top 3 quarterback, which that's good to hear. If he's impressing in meetings, it will only add to his value and the Patriots' belief in him as a potential selection at number 3. Now, I want to kick it over to something for Drake Maye here and Evan Lazar. So Drake Maye went on Underdog Fantasy Sports, did a little 12-minute film breakdown with them, and Evan Lazar quote tweeted it and said, "This is fantastic. From a Patriots perspective, Maye working under center mechanics out of the pistol where he turns his back to the defense and sells play action is huge in Alex Van Pelt's offense." It's not true under center, but it's essentially the same thing. And I do have this note when it comes to Drake Maye, in my opinion. Drake Maye play action moves mountains. What do I mean by that? Well, he is very dynamic with the ball in his hands, just like Jayden Daniels. So if it's a shotgun play action where it could be a RPO, it could be a quarterback designed run or a straight handoff, it will only help give the defense that split second of hesitation, which can allow wide receivers to get behind the linebackers, maybe get behind the safeties who creep up, and Drake's able to come back and sling it. Or if it's in the pistol, like Lazar mentioned, he has so much experience in that motion, in that offensive scheme, where if he runs that pistol set that Alex Van Pelt likes to do, well, it's going to be a seamless transition for Drake Maye. And even though it is different footwork, there is no kidding that, so don't get it twisted. Pistol and under center is different. It's still mostly the same motion because unlike the shotgun where the running back is to your side, whether it be left or right, pistol, he's behind you. So your handoffs are always going to be this, like turning like this and giving it off, or giving like a one-step handoff, right? So it's not like the under center and pistol is so different. And I've always said that. I think Drake Maye is the most pro-style quarterback in this draft class. Him and J.J. McCarthy are those two guys where you could put him under center. You could put him in the pistol. You could have him be in the drop back and straight up read a defense. So that's why I think if you're looking for my answer on who the New England Patriots should want at number 3 and who Patriots fans should root for to fall to that 3rd overall pick, I'm going to go with Drake Maye because I think he fits the best in this Alex Van Pelt offense. I think he has a higher ceiling than Jayden Daniels. He has a stronger arm than Jayden Daniels. He has a better frame than Jayden Daniels. The only thing that Jayden Daniels does better, and that is without a question, is running the football and being mobile. But Drake Maye is also very agile and mobile as well. That'll do it for today's video. Make sure you hit that sub button because whether it be me, Nick Roloff, or Harrison Graham, we're always going to have you covered here at Patriots Today. We got videos coming out on Saturday and Sunday as well, so be on the lookout for those because, the NFL offseason's here, and we will keep you updated.